father of Michigan, his professional record, 28 victories, no defeats, 2 draws, 20 KOs. Presenting the IBF middleweight champion of the world, James Lights Out Toney.
All right, while the fighters meet in the middle of the ring, let's go ahead and look at the tail of the tape and get the numbers on these two guys. Tibery, a couple of years older. This is a struggle for James Toney to make the 160-pound weight limit. Other than that, they're remarkably similar. The IBF rules are in effect. Scoring's on the 10-point must. The 3 knockdown and the standing 8 count are not in effect. A fighter cannot be saved by the bell in any round, and only the referee can stop the fight. And that referee is this gentleman here, Robert Palmer from New Jersey, who's working his first title fight. And we're underway in the first round here on our Fruit of the Loom professional boxing series. But a good left digging into the ribs here by James Toney.
Nice jab there by Dave Tibery, too. He said at the top, he's a game kid. He's determined. He just looks to be outgunned. When you stand toe-to-toe like this, and if you hit me and I'll hit you, you just have to be the man with the superior artillery. And on the basis of their records, Dave Tibery is just way, way outgunned.
Yeah.
But right now, he's backing Toney up.
And there's another good right hand by Tibery.
James Toney is a patient fighter. He's generally a slow starter. He likes to take his time. In fact, good left there by Tibery. When James won the title from Michael Nunn with an 11th-round knockout. Good right back.
Big right hand by Toney.
James is behind in all cards.
And right now, Alex Tibery appears to be a little bit rattled. His gloves are creeping down as Toney got in there with a good combination.
But you see James, he doesn't go crazy when he senses his man's hurt a little bit. As we said, takes his time right now, just content to cover.
Certainly a different start for James Toney than he led us to believe that he was going to have yesterday. Spewing forth some real venom about Dave Tibery and his camp and comments they had to say about him.
Anytime you see, I'm sorry, Dan, anytime you see two fighters with their heads as close together as these two, you think about cuts, and Dave Tibery, and there the two heads met. Dave Tibery has a history of cutting, especially over his left eye.
It was over the left eye that a nearly 4-inch gash was opened up in his fight with Tony Thornton. And I don't think that up against the ropes is where Dave Tibery wants to be against James Toney, who's now starting a little target practice with the right hand. There was a good right coming back from Tibery, but didn't seem to faze Toney. There's Dave's mother, who's at ringside, along with a rather large contingent from Delaware. Supposedly 500 people here.
Right, just a family showed up. I mean, 14 kids. 7 brothers were fighters. Right now, I think Dave feels like he's fighting all 7 of them.
Yes. We're inside the final 30 seconds of the first round here. This title bout scheduled for 12.
But you see, James Toney does not sustain the pressure, and I think the reason for this is, in some of his early fights, he ran out of gas badly. Won the fights, but was desperate in terms of running, and I think he paces himself. Fights in flurries like you see here.
Oh, and Tibery is staggered here at the end of the first.
One, Toney on the right, a right hand on the temple, and that left hook staggered Tibery.
And here we are now live in the second round, opening seconds. Again, Dave Tibery willing to settle in close quarters with James Toney.
You have to admire his heart, you have to admire his chin, you have to admire his toughness, but this kind of strategy is just suicidal.
Well, in between rounds, we could hear Tibery's corner saying to him, this guy can't stand in there with you. I know you got to preach self-confidence to your fighter, but that's going a little overboard.
And you talked, Dan, in the first round about the 500 tickets that Dave Tibery sold to his fans. Sounds great for the promoter, but it's not so good for Dave, because when they start cheering and he gets juiced up, he does exactly what he shouldn't do, and that's try to trade with Toney.
Right now, Tibery ought to settle in for the duration and try to score some points.
Score some points from distance. from distance. Use that jab, but move a little bit. Try to confuse Toney a little bit. Don't just stand there and let him tee off.
It is well known that James Toney is managed by a woman. Her name is Jackie Callan, and there she is at ringside, and it's a wonderful story between these two. And Jackie Callan here is not just another pretty face. She is one of the best managers in boxing.
Woman. This should be the fight of the year for the job she did for James in 1991.
She is really a well-respected boxing manager.
Dave Tibery doing some scoring there as Toney takes time off in the ropes. And we must remind you that those punches, they are scoring punches. But as we pointed out at the top of the show, Dave Tibery just has no power at all in that punch.
We'd like to remind our local ABC stations that at the end of this round, we'll be taking a station break. Again, the strategy of Tibery here working inside, and that time he backs James Toney out of the confrontation. It was that time Tibery making Toney give ground. But still, you wonder about that strategy over the long haul.
David will have his moments because of what we said about the fact that Toney likes to fight in spurts. Backing off as Toney is doing here, just laying on the ropes and not doing much. The problem is, how much punishment does Dave take in those spurts?
A nice move by Toney, spinning off the ropes. And now he loads up on Dave Tibery.
He just missed 4 straight, Dan. Dave did a good job defensively there.
Coming to the end of the third round, we'll return with more Fruit of the Loom professional boxing after a word from our ABC station. For Toney's IBF middleweight title.
Look at Dave Tibery fight. I mean, we said game, we said determined at the top. He really is. And I think it's possibly won that second round. Dave Tibery comes from a state without a huge boxing tradition in Delaware. But we should point out that he trains at Champ's Gym in North Philly, and this is just another Philly gym war for Dave Tibery.
Speaking of great fighters, how about that guy right there? Thomas Hearns is here at ringside, the Hitman, and Alex, one of my all-time favorites. I know yours as well.
And the reigning WBA light heavyweight champion with a big multi-million-dollar match down the road against Iran Barkley.
That was quite a fight.
Iran is also here.
Quite a fight he had against Virgil Hill. I mean, it was a masterpiece for the Hitman.
Look at, Tibery again. They played the Rocky theme when he came in, and David is determined to write his own script. Or to keep to the script, I should say.
And James Toney, of all people, should know how that script works. Trailing on all the scorecards when he knocked out Michael Nunn in the 11th.
Now the interesting thing is, with half this third round gone, is James Toney really has done nothing in this round. Tibery has dominated it, and Tibery looks at this point like he's prepared to keep up this pace for a while. And James Toney has to decide, am I going to try to stay with him, or can I afford to concede these rounds to him and rely on my power to bail me out in the later rounds? That's a tightrope. I mean, oh, Toney looked a little hurt.
James Toney.
He was definitely wobbled there by a man that we have written off as a man with absolutely no power.
Now Toney's eyes appear to be focused and his legs appear to be under him, but there was no doubt that that shot hurt James Toney.
I should say, Dan, in fairness to you, that I've written off.
Alex, what? I'm with you. We sink or swim together.
You can jump this one. Tibery has set a tremendous pace. Toney has not been able to stay with him at this point. Toney is out of gas right now.
His mouth is open. And listen to this pro-Tibery crowd as James Toney, remarkably here in only the third round, looks tired. There's no other way to describe it. Here we come to the end of the third. Remember, we're scheduled for 12. Tibery, who is up off his stool with 15 seconds left in that break between rounds, and a very sloop-shouldered James Toney stayed on his stool as long as he could, Alex.
He's right here in round 4, and he has to get a second win. He didn't get to this point, James Toney, without having a lot of guts, a lot of resiliency, a lot of comeback ability, as he showed against Michael Nunn in winning the title.
Oh, a good right hand.
Some of it right there.
Yeah, a good right hand by James Toney.
But he has not prepared for this fight, obviously. For him to be that dead tired at that point,
after
he
9
is not
minutes
prepared for this fight the way he did for the big fights. And Dave Tibery, to give you an idea, and I'm not saying he's won the last 2 rounds on my scorecard, but this fight, you could not put a bet on this fight. I mean, they talk about Buster Douglas Tyson being 42-1. There was no line on this fight. It was off the board.
And you can get a line on 2 birds sitting on a telephone line as to which one will fly away first. When you can't get a line on a fight, it's lopsided.
And it's a phone booth fight right now. I mean, there's no movement. It's just 2 guys standing together. And right now, the heart and the conditioning. I mean, this is just a conditioning war. And Tibery is clearly at this point, despite his lack of power, in better condition to deliver more punches.
And Alex, I don't care what anybody says about being the underdog. There is always a shadow of doubt in your mind as to whether or not you can win. Right now, I think all that doubt has been removed from Dave Tibery's mind. He thinks he can win this fight.
And interestingly, James Toney is not desperate yet. He's gathering himself. He's given up rounds. There's no question about that. But he's counting on Tibery punching himself out.
Mark Condrith, who's the manager of Dave Tibery, and right now his stomach's rolling over, but he can't be unhappy.
Mark Condrith's stomach was rolling over the day he found out that Tibery got this fight. He's been nervous as a cat. But right now he's got,
right now he's got to be saying, he's got to be saying to himself, oh, dare I think it.
Good right hand by Toney.
Oh, there was a good short clipping left hook by Toney. And this is the only serious punching by James Toney that we've seen here in the 4th round.
And it
looks like that might be all we see.
He can't sustain it. And he's taking punches. I started to say hard punches, and I can't contradict myself, but he's taken enough to keep him occupied and just test him all the way down to the soles of his shoes.
Well, I'm not sure what James Toney was expecting out of this fight, but I'll guarantee you this wasn't it. In the 4th round, and James Toney doesn't even get out of his corner. The 5th round, rather. I'm sorry, I said the 4th. Without Dave Tibery smothering him in his corner. And Alex, we were listening between rounds, and James Toney was trying to respond to his trainer, Bill Miller, and he could hardly talk. He's breathing so heavily.
Absolutely exhausted. But, remember the Reggie Johnson fight, the first fight he had after knocking out Michael Nunn?
Right.
He was knocked down early in the fight. He was way behind on points, but he held himself together despite the fact that he fell way behind and pulled out the fight in the final round.
That fight was last June 29th. But James Toney didn't look this tired, this exhausted then.
No, but you would have thought he would have learned a lesson, and that is, to do everything you can to prepare for even a lesser opponent.
Don't forget, at the conclusion of this fight, we'll have an update on the Mike Tyson trial. Marianne Grabovoy is in Indianapolis, and we'll go to her for a report at the conclusion of this fight.
Mike Tyson finished his testimony today under cross-examination. Again, all Tibery.
At the halfway mark of the 5th round, James Toney's IBF middleweight title at this point in time is in real jeopardy. He may rebound, but right now he's in trouble.
Look at the referee watching the action here. That's a referee, Robert Palmer, in his first title fight. And you always wonder how he'll handle a championship fight in terms of letting a title fight go.
Oh, a good right-hand counter by Toney, but most of the scoring here in the 5th has been done by Dave Tibery.
And the beautiful thing that Dave has done is when James Toney has fought in his flurry, As soon as he finishes, Tibery knows that he's out of gas, and he's jumped right at him. Not let him catch his breath, and not let him take time off.
Very good point, Alex. Alex Swallow and Dan Yerdorf here ringside in Atlantic City. We're here for the Fruit of the Loom Professional Boxing Series. This is our first of 3 consecutive Saturdays. And what a performance we're seeing by Dave Tibery here, trying to wrest the title away from James Toney. Toney in the black trunks, Tibery in the white. Another good round here as we come to the end of the 5th for Dave Tibery.
Getting a much-needed rest while they fix the tape job.
And you can see they're not just fixing the tape job, Alex. They're taking it all the way off.
Let's take over this fight.
They're taking the glove off.
Listen to me. I want to see some jabs out here this time. Give this guy some movement. He's coming straight to you. You hit him on the chin with the big shots. Give him some angles now. Give him a new look. Tell us what's no blows.
Alex, what could have happened to make them take the entire glove off?
Well, they must have split, that's all. They're 10-ounce Reyes gloves, and it just must have split. We're getting the glove brought over to us by Bob Yale, breaking the world land speed record.
The bottom seam
split. On the bottom, exactly right, Dan. The bottom seam opened up, and that's a dangerous condition. And the referee really had no choice but let me, Dan, show it to him. The referee really has no choice
right here. And you're right, they have no choice. But, man, for James Toney, what a... Is that ready, Mario?
Do we have any...
He's got some sort of a respiratory ailment or something that's curtailing him here.
Or he's dead at the weight.
Or if he's dead at the weight, because he did have to work hard to make the weight.
Oh.
And that delay was a little over 4 minutes, so quite a break for James Toney.
Now, James Toney didn't get in shape in those 4 minutes.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? He got a rest, but he didn't get in shape. And if Dave Tibery can continue the pressure, he can take away, you know, what the benefits of that break. The problem is he's got to fight. He's got to avoid the power of Toney while he's fresh, which is right now.
Toney continues to work that right uppercut, and it more often than not gets between the gloves of Tibery.
We should report also, Dan, that left eye that we talked about, we forgot about it, and all the controversy, not the controversy, but the glove removal. Tibery's left eye was nicked in the last round, worked on by the legendary Eddie the Clot Iliano in Tibery's corner, but it's puffy and it's slightly cut. And I'm just amazed it hasn't blown up already, to be honest, with the right hands that Toney has landed and the closeness of their heads.
Well, more than the glove, you brought up the point earlier that it's the unintentional butting that takes place. That's the easiest way to open up an eyebrow.
And halfway through round 6, Toney, when he was fresh, did not do a lot of damage. And unless he does some soon, he's going to go back to being that groggy, kind of sleepwalking James Toney of the first 5 rounds. Except for that moment where he hurt Tibery at the end of the first.
The crowd, and now Robert Palmer steps in and separates the fighters and warns Tibery about hitting low.
And here's it from the Tibery fans.
Yeah, much to the chagrin of the crowd, but don't go by crowd noise here. I'm not sure they're an accurate barometer. Again, Toney leaning back on the rope. But he's doing that by choice.
Yeah, but he's doing no scoring. Tibery's just walking forward, and Toney, who's a strong young kid, just can't stop him.
And Toney is not a fighter who scores moving backwards. I mean, that's not his game, Alex.
He's got one nice little move with the right hand, Dan, where he can roll back and then brace himself and let the right hand counter go. But all that skill, that punch, that little move that he used so many times against Mike McCallum, none of that skill is present here against a much lesser opponent.
Here we come to the end of round 6. In between rounds, Robert Palmer, the referee, detracted and subtracted a point from Dave Tibery for low blow in that last round. So in your scoring, deduct a point from Tibery.
And we should point something out. If you might have heard, when we were isolated on James in his corner, he said to Bill Miller, tell the referee to watch the low blows just before the start of the last round. Bill Miller, his trainer, did that, and it paid a dividend.
You see lots of warnings about low blows. You don't see many actual point deductions. And Robert Palmer, again, a reminder, working his first title fight, penalizes Dave Tibery. Action in the 7th round here in Atlantic City.
I just never saw a low punch in that exchange that caused the deduction.
No, I have to agree, Alex. Neither did I. James Toney wearing the Star of David on his trunks. That's a tribute to his manager, Jackie Callan. Dave Tibery wearing a cross on his shorts. Of course, he's a Sunday school teacher and a deeply religious man himself. So both in their own way expressing some belief. 1 minute, 20 seconds left here in the 7th round. There hasn't really been a meaningful blow struck in this round.
And for the first time since the first round, Dave Tibery was, for a moment at least, back on the ropes. And there he is. Again, he happens to be comfortable fighting off the ropes. He likes it. He thinks it gives him leverage. But it's the first little sign that of Toney being able to, turn it around a little bit right there.
There was a good combination.
Toney pushing him back on the ropes.
Yeah. And you see some blood now on Dave Tibery. That's around his nose. Tough to determine from right here where it's emanating from, but there's definitely blood on the nose of Tibery.
If we haven't paid enough tribute to the guts and determination, whatever the outcome of this fight, of Dave Tibery in the white trunks with his back to you, let me just take this opportunity to do it again. He is just non-stop punching machine. Maybe 5 of those pity bat punches of his equal a good solid punch. He's thrown it from all angles, and he just has not stopped throwing them in the fight.
We're scheduled for a dozen. This is the end of the 7th. There's Dave Tibery on the left, James Toney on the right. Tibery from Wilmington, Delaware. Now lives in Pike Creek, Delaware. James Toney, originally from Ann Arbor, Michigan, and now resides there, but spends most of his time in Detroit training. James Toney is the IBF middleweight champion, and that title very much in jeopardy from the pressure of Dave Tibery here through the first 7. We're now in the 8th.
And we got a report that, Dave Tibery is, let me just total it up here. I got him, I believe, with the 1-point deduction, 4 points ahead. In the fight, right now, I'm not so sure. It looks like it's going the distance.
The crowd reacting to James Toney being back on the ropes. I mean, he's certainly not making a great effort to get off the ropes, but he was there that time by choice.
Sometimes a young fighter just thinks that when he's got power, he can totally rely on that one-punch power to bail him out of anything. And James Toney has certainly gambled his title and his reputation and a lot of his future, his immediate future, on that bet. And right now, he's losing that bet badly.
We'd like to remind our local ABC stations that at the end of this round, we'll be taking a station break. The punches from James, and that's a good indication, Alex, when he swung that left.
And he switched
the effort to swing the punch, took him off balance.
For a moment, James Toney switched to southpaw. That's not a concession. I don't know what is. That's an act of desperation.
James Toney,
I shouldn't say concession.
I
He ain't
understand.
conceding the fight.
no, but his body looks like it is. We know his mind isn't, but right now it appears that James Toney's body is betraying him for whatever reason.
For one reason, he didn't prepare himself. Well, you're right, Dan. You said earlier he could have some physical ailment that we're not aware of, and I shouldn't prejudge
I mean,
that.
we've seen him before, and he's never looked like this. I mean, the physical stamina and conditioning that he displayed in that Mike McCallum fight, I thought was awesome.
But give Tibery credit. He is creating a pace here that just is not allowing Toney the time to rest that he's had in other fights. And the fans continue to chant, TNT Tibery.
Here we come to the end of the 8th round. We'll return with more Fruit of the Loom professional boxing after a word from our ABC station.
But a referee, Robert Palmer.
Both fighters continue to trade punches after the bell, and Palmer stepped in there and paid for it. Here we go in round number 9. Whatever blood was coming from Dave Tibery was cleaned up during the round, and it really doesn't seem to be a major concern right now unless it starts to come out a great deal more. Again, a reminder that after this fight, we'll go to Indianapolis for an update on the Mike Tyson trial. And right now, James Toney has a trial of his own underway.
We are getting on our scorecard into the territory where James Toney needs a knockout to win, even with the 1-point deduction, which I think was not warranted by Robert Palmer. There was a blow, I believe, on the ropes. There was a warning previous to that round, but I just think there have been a lot of low blows, borderline punches by both men, and I thought that that was a referee in his first title fight with a little bit too fast a trigger.
We're at the Taj Mahal in Atlantic City. It's snowing outside, but boy, it is hot stuff in the ring here. And you see that pathetic right hand by Toney, and now Tibery comes back. And Alex, he almost fell down throwing it.
I don't know if James Toney at this stage has enough to hurt as game and as tough and is a fighter with as good a chin as Dave Tibery.
Oh, and a good scoring flurry by Tibery. 3 scoring punches back to back.
If you ever saw quantity over quality, this is it. James Toney's taken a ton of punches to the head. He is unmarked.
Well,
But meanwhile, he just has not been able to get anything of himself off, his own punches off, in the face of this buzzsaw.
well, we know that Tibery is not a knockout artist. He's had 27 professional fights and only 7 knockouts. So he's not a hired assassin in that respect. But you hear the crowd chanting TNT. That's for their man Dave Tibery, who's in command here as we come to the end of the night. One can only assume that a crowd can spur a guy on, or at least the fighter can hear the crowd. This one is directly behind Dave Tibery. He has 3 rounds to go, the 10th, the 11th, and the 12th, and it has been a sterling effort on his part to this point. And look at Tibery doing things you wouldn't think he'd be able to do, pushing James Toney away when he wants. And Alex, you raised the point all the way back in the 3rd or 4th round, I believe, that at this stage of the fight, even if James Toney connects with a clean punch, you wonder if he's going to have the power behind it to take Dave Tibery out, even if he would connect with a clean one.
Let me just try to give you a sense of how big an upset this would be. The man in the black trunks on the left of your screen was the fighter of the year last year. He knocked out Michael Nunn, a seemingly invincible champion. He got a draw, but everybody thought an unlucky draw against Mike McCallum, the other great power in the middleweight division. The man with his back to you has never beaten a named fighter, anything close to a named fighter. The closest he came was Tony Thornton, and he lost that fight on a 4th-round TKO because his eye busted up terribly, a 4-inch gash. He's retired from the ring a couple of times and come back. He struggled with club fight opposition, and here he is in the ring with a man that I think a lot of other people saw to be on the verge of greatness, and he's just beating him, and beating him decisively.
James Toney not fighting with a great deal of urgency. Tibery continues to stay in close. Oh, there was a good right counter by Toney.
You know, Dan, boxing's legend says that to take a man's fight, you have to beat him badly. Toney's had his moments, especially the first round, but aside from that, only a couple of close rounds, you just can't imagine that Dave Tibery hasn't won the rest of them decisively enough to get the judges. And don't forget also, he has 500 or so of his fans here in Atlantic City with him. So the judges are hearing from it every time Tibery does well.
We're coming to the end of the 10th round. 2 to go. Palmer signals the fighters to get started here in the 11th. And Mark Condrith, the manager of Dave Tibery, between rounds said, Dave, 2 more rounds and you're world champion.
And James Toney sat in his stool and told his corner that he feels good. Came out later, 1 good punch. He does not look good.
And neither did the looks on the faces of Bill Miller, his trainer, and Jackie Callan, his manager.
Dave Tibery's trunks in front are stained with blood. It's his blood, coming from a little nick perhaps over his eye, but probably from his nose. We said early in this fight that James Toney paces himself. He's patient because in some of his early fights he ran out of gas, and he just likes to be able to take time off and to set the pace. In this fight, with the exception of the closing seconds of round 1, Dave Tibery has forced the pace. Every time Toney wanted to rest, Tibery would not let him. And he just sucked the air out of him. He just exhausted him just by the sheer force of his determination.
And right now, Tibery is getting out in that power range, Alex. I know you're a big believer that there's that real sweet spot out there where a guy's maximum power is. Tibery's been effective by staying inside of Toney's range. And a couple times here, he's kind of drifted out a little bit. That's dangerous.
I've been wrong about as many ways as you could be about this fight. I thought that Tibery had no chance in this kind of a fight because of Toney's edge and power. I thought it was suicidal to stay in tight instead of moving and trying to take some of Toney's power away by not letting him set. And Dave Tibery has proved that just by being prepared to throw an incredible number of punches and having an incredible chin and ability to stand up, that you can beat a fighter as highly regarded as James Toney, or you can get way ahead in the closing seconds of the 11th round.
Again, a reminder to our audience, we don't have a scorecard over here. There's Mario Tibery, Dave Tibery's brother, his trainer,
the fighter himself,
and right now soulmate. You could tell by the look on his face.
It was the 11th round when James Toney came up with the miracle punch that he needed to knock out Michael Nunn.
The 11th round is just about gone.
It is an 11th round in which he will not find that miracle against Dave Tibery.
We'll be back for the 12th and final round in a moment. Oh, and there's James Toney. A real act of desperation by a man who, by our account here ringside, is 3 minutes away from having his IBF middleweight title taken away by the man on the left, Dave Tibery.
say in any fight is that our scorecards, I've got him ahead by 3 points with the 1-point deduction. I'm sorry, 4 points with the 1-point deduction. That does not mean that the people at ringside see it the same way. I thought Toney beat McCallum by 4 points, and he got a draw. Strange things have happened in Atlantic City and all over the world in boxing, but do not, even if Tibery lasts this round, and even if Tibery wins this round, our scorecards mean nothing.
No, you're right. And again, we must put in perspective, if Tibery should upset Toney, the magnitude of that upset, you could not even place a bet on this fight. That's how big an underdog Dave Tibery was to the champion James Toney. Now, one thing to keep in mind, Tibery's already been penalized 1 point for a low blow, and he's thrown a couple borderline punches here that looked low here in the 12th. Tibery is not in a position to make a mistake like that and have it come back to haunt him. Inside a minute and a half here in the 12th.
James Toney has been the victim a couple of times of the officials here in Atlantic City. Timeout there. Again, a glove problem. Just a little tape this time.
And there's Robert Palmer, the referee, stepping in.
We should say that in the Murphy-Sosa fight, which James appeared to win decisively, James gets another rest here. Boy,
he can hardly.
James, he can barely get over to his corner.
James Toney, he dragged his right leg going over there. James Toney is limping. He's either having a cramp or some pulled muscle, a problem with his right leg. He actually dragged his right leg to the neutral corner. And you can see the way that he's working off his instep rather than up on the ball of his right foot.
We're starting to say, Dan, that James Toney's had some strange decisions in Atlantic City. He looked to be a clear winner over Murphy-Sosa, only got a split decision. Looked to be a clear winner over Mike McCallum, got a draw. His manager, Jackie Callan, sent a letter to the commission protesting. It'd be interesting to see if that has any effect on the judges here.
James Toney right now is hurt. He cannot move, and he's going to have to remain stationary. 30 seconds here left in the 12th round. The crowd, the Dave Tibery crowd here, coming from nearby Delaware, is on their feet. Approaching 15 seconds. Dave Tibery in the white trunks appears to have wrested away the championship from James Toney. It'll go to a decision here in Atlantic City.
I said at the top that he didn't have a chance because of the power. Unbelievable.
While the scene plays out here in the ring, and we await the decision, let's go now to Indianapolis for that Mike Tyson report. Here's Mary Ann Grabovoy. Well, we just saw an exciting 12 rounds here in Atlantic City. Here's ring announcer Michael Buffer.
Frank Brunette scores about 117 to 111 for Dave Tibery. Bill Lurch scores about 115 to 112 for James Toney. Frank Garcia scores about 115 to 111 for the winner by split decision, and still IBF middleweight champion of the world, James Lights Out Toney.
We'll be back here in Atlantic City. Alex is in the ring, and we'll have interviews with an incredible decision.
And after what has to be, in my opinion, one of the most disgusting decisions I've seen, James, first of all, what was your, in your wildest dreams, did you think you won that fight, James, honestly?
Yeah, I did. I'm serious. You know, I don't know what the hell you was looking at. All you guys out there, you got some fools. Because if you look at the shots, I was blocking most of the shots on my arms and shoulders. And I don't tell y'all looking at, once again, y'all incompetent analysts and judges out there. You know, I'm tired of all that bullshit y'all out there doing, trying to degrade me and shit. I'm a world champion. You know, Dave Tibery, I took my hat off to him. He's a good fighter. You know, he deserved to be in the top 10. And I fought, this is my last fight as a middleweight. I'm no longer a middleweight, I moved up to super middleweight. I had trouble making weight. I've been starving for 2 weeks. And now this is it.
I got to cut you loose. We have very little time. I got to get a reaction from Dave Tibery.
I thought it was a great fight. James is a tough fighter. I thought I pulled it out. I did my best. A lot of hard work for over 2 months with up in Slit Rock Lodge and also Champs Gym with Bernard Hopkins, Prince Charles. I did everything I could to be a world champion, and I just felt I felt like I was deprived.
Thanks, David. You were, in my opinion. Let's go back to Dan Dierdorf at ringside.
Okay, thank you, Alex. And James Toney retains his middleweight championship in an incredible decision here in Atlantic City. See you next